Thank you for joining us, everybody. Today we are going to be talking about recruiting and retaining customer service employees. And just one note, if you haven't already answered our poll question, please take just a moment to answer that before we close that down for the day. If you have not had a chance to handout, you can do that in the lower left-hand corner. If you have any questions during the course of our presentation, you are welcome to type those in the Q&A pod at the bottom, and we will either get you an answer verbally or we will type an answer for you. So I'm going to close down our pod, and just so that everybody knows, we're going to bring this back up in a few minutes, just so that you can see how we did. So today we're talking about recruiting and retaining customer service representatives, and it's essential that you be able to find and keep the best representatives to help you grow your business. One of the things that we've been doing with these Start a Business webinars is the fact that we've been talking about a business plan and the other essentials. So today, one of the things with customer service is facing the opportunities and challenges of your business. And one of the challenges might be how to make your customers happy with the products that you sell. So that could be a challenge, and it may be the people that you're hiring to fill that position. Today we have Rochelle Simpson. She is the Vice President and Global Talent Acquisition for Northern Trust. She has been recruiting professionals that have different talents for their bank and working through employee programs and HR systems. She has been a consultative business partner to department managers on how they recruit for their departments, as well as retain those employees to build and develop their relationships there. So thank you for joining us today, Rochelle. Would you like to say a bit about Northern Trust?
Absolutely. Northern Trust is a global organization, and of course we are in financial services. We are a premier organization in way of leading client service in the wealth management and asset management space. And just last year, Northern Trust celebrated 125 years in existence. So we're very excited about that. A very stable, reputable organization in the Chicagoland area.
That's amazing that they've been in business that long. Congratulations.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's move on here, and let's talk a little bit about what is customer service. We've got some things on the screen. Would you like to explain those, Rochelle?
Okay. Customer service is, it's a very broad subject, but it's a very vital part of everyday business. Being in financial services, of course, customer service is critical and key as to how we do business here at Northern Trust and in every financial service institution that I've worked in. What we've outlined here is asking the question, what is customer service? And you'll see that we've stated that it is the act of taking care of the customer's needs by providing and delivering professional, helpful, high-quality service and assistance. But notice it's before, during, and after the customer's requirements are met. These bullets here, being prompt, being patient, being professional, personalized, these are all the qualities that you would want to see demonstrated in situations where customer service is required. Notice that in this definition, it covers all phases of a customer service experience. And so that might be an opportunity to really identify with candidates and how they understand customer service. But also notice that what it isn't. Customer service is not following a policy or procedure to the letter or even having a so what attitude. And so what do we mean by that? In customer service, I'm certain each of you have heard that the customer is always right. It doesn't mean that the customer may walk away with the request, but in way of being right, the customer should have an opportunity to share what the needs are, but the client needs to be flexible and able to hear a customer out and then being able to deliver a positive outcome to the customer.
Yeah,
So I
that's a
hope
good
that
point.
makes sense.
Right.
Absolutely.
Good point.
Okay, let's move to the next slide.
All right. So we always want the customers coming back, right? It's hard to keep finding new customers, so we want them to be returning customers, and that's what customer service does. It keeps those customers coming back for more. And what we were looking at earlier, the quiz, customer service is crucial to 723 different occupations that we found on ONET Online. And those all reference that customer service needs to be a big part. And if you take a look at the list in the image and then take a look at our list here, all of these jobs require customer service. So as we're looking at different positions for our businesses and trying to hire for those, customer service is a key element in many, many, many job positions that are available across the spectrum of any job. So we'll move this back out of the way. Sorry, I need to click a different button here. So let's move on and talk about some customer service key traits. Let's have Rochelle talk about these.
Okay. And I just want to make one comment on the customer service keeps your customers coming back more. Just one interesting fact. I worked for an organization some years ago, and our fees were significantly higher than other financial services institutions offering similar products that we offer. However, the customers always commented that they were willing to pay the higher fees because of the level of service that they received from that particular organization. So to your point, Dee, in way of retaining customers and having your customers continue to come back, customer service and the ability to build those effective relationships is absolutely key. So I just thought I'd mention. I always think about that.
Thank you. All right. So let's talk about some key traits.
Key traits. First of all, in hiring effective, strong customer service professionals, you want to make certain that there is great communication, that active listening is a part of what they're able to offer, that they're able to articulate and really provide clear explanations to the customer's request, that they are able to show and demonstrate that they really understand what the customer is asking for. If the personnel is not an active listener, more likely than not, they will definitely miss opportunities in way of satisfying the customer. Also, accuracy, another customer service trait that's really needed. Are they able to really offer accurate information, details? Do they know the products and services? Do they know the policies, the guidelines? Do they understand their realm of responsibility and authority in handling a customer's request? There must be great attention to detail that goes hand in hand with listening. Are they an effective problem solver? Are they able to identify what the customer's needs are and then able to act on them effectively to make certain that the customer leaves satisfied? Critical thinking. Strong interpersonal skills. Are they able to engage customers? Are they pleasant? Do they have a polite disposition? If a person is not able to demonstrate interpersonal skills in an interview, that might be a customer service type of role might be a challenge for that particular candidate. Are they able to effectively manage stress and conflict? We all know in customer service there will be some stressful days, there will always be conflict, and is the candidate able to demonstrate through the conversation that they have effective ways, that they understand, and they're able to manage? I sum all of this up. We have service-minded, that they have a strong work ethic, that they are informed and resourceful. And we've touched on most of those points, but I really sum these service traits into one category, and that's that the candidate is service-minded. I believe if people are service-minded, that they have a client service, a customer service attitude, all of these other points most likely will really fall into place. So I think that would be a focus of the type of candidate that you would look to hire.
And our last point is optimism.
Go ahead, Dee. The optimistic.
You need to be optimistic. You need to think that you're going to be able to solve others' problems and help them achieve what they need to achieve with your company. And so I thought this Helen Keller quote was very appropriate.
Very appropriate.
All right, so let's move on to the next slide. How can you tell during an interview if somebody's going to be a good customer service representative?
A couple of ways that an interviewer can tell is, of course, you can create scenarios and that you ask appropriate questions that will drill down and give insight into the candidate's previous experiences. So in creating scenarios, let's use a very basic customer service type of situation. Perhaps you, maybe it is a financial services institution. A customer comes in and maybe they are disgruntled or they are complaining about a fee that was agreed to be reversed. That fee is still showing up on their statements, and so they're coming in to complain about the fees and the lack of follow-up in regard to removing the fees. So you would want to listen for asking those questions, those traits that we just talked about. Is the person, are they able to listen carefully, get all of the details from the customer? What type of problem-solving solutions have they come up with? Do they apologize to the customer? Do they assure the customer that the situation will be resolved? So that's just a brief example, a basic example of what a scenario might look like. So you might ask in the interview, or you create the scenario and provide that scenario to the candidate, and then ask, how would you handle this situation? What would you do? And then listen for those key points. And of course, asking the questions that will provide insight into their previous experiences. So you might ask those behavioral-based interview questions that will allow you to see, hear, understand how they have responded to, how they have managed under stress, how they've managed disgruntled clients in previous roles that they may have had.
All right.
And to that point, we have outlined a few questions that you might ask during an interview to a customer service candidate. I would say there are a couple of questions on the list that I think might be a couple of questions that we can discuss here.
Good.
One question might be taking a look at asking a candidate about 2 or 3 qualities of a successful customer service employee. I think that would be a good question to ask, and then asking them why. does that candidate really understand customer service and what the expectations of a customer service professional might look like?
That's
So
great.
that
And then
might,
if you know what the answers are going to be, that makes it really easy, because if they don't hit some of them, they may not be the right person.
absolutely. You definitely want to have outlined, what is it that you want to hear? If you ask a behavioral-based question, for example, talk about a time when you were unable to help the customer with their problem. What was the issue and how did you handle the situation? What are some things that you want to hear? Do you want to hear at the end that the customer walked away satisfied? But you want to hear situations, what was the situation? You want to hear what actions the candidate took in order to meet the client's needs. And then it's always helpful if you can hear what the results were. What was the impact of this situation? We talked earlier about clients returning because of good customer service. Those are the types of situations that would allow clients to return or be interested in returning, or customers to return when they have had the opportunity to work with your staff where they know they have received excellent customer service.
Yeah. Now, one of the things that we need to talk about is knowing what's allowed. What are the questions that are allowed to ask during an interview? And for some companies, understanding how a person might do their job might be done through having them do a scenario, like, what would you say if a customer came up to you and said X, Y, or Z? And you ask them, but there are certain rules, and especially in certain states or certain companies, where you cannot vary from a prescribed set of interview questions. So you have to be a little bit creative on what you ask and what you're going to listen for in an answer. And I know that from just talking with somebody that deals with, they're a national company, and they are told you cannot ask anything but these questions. So knowing what your company allows and knowing what your state requires as far as asking what could potentially be work product questions, you need to be very careful with that.
Absolutely.
Let's move on to the next slide. Are we ready to do that?
Yeah.
All right. So how can we help a customer service employee that we know has potential but maybe just needs a little bit of coaching? And what we would want to do there is try to do some positive feedback. It's not right to just say, hey, you did that wrong. You need to try to tell them what they did do right, tell them what they might be able to change to become better, because that's what the whole goal is. We want people in a position to become better. And then you need to tell them ways that they might be able to accomplish that. And one thing that I read while we were researching this webinar was check on what a competitor's customer service is like. So if you happen to go into another bank, Rochelle, do you ever, not that you would ever go into another bank, but do you ever look at how they handle customer service in another bank?
Absolutely. In the retail world, and way of, the personal bankers, the private bankers on the retail side. Now, Northern doesn't have the retail space, but in previous organizations, we absolutely have looked at how other bankers how our competitors reward their bankers. And sometimes the rewards are as simple as allowing time off, allowing gift cards, things along that line. But in way of viewing the competitor's customer service, just talking to their bankers, listening to their approach, listening to some of the conversations that they have had offered to their clients, and what might set them apart from what we are doing in our organization.
That's great. And then
But to your
role-play situations.
I'm sorry?
Role-playing situations is a great opportunity as well.
Absolutely.
So
So
if you have a potential situation, you can trade places with the person and throw hard at them and see what they do, if they catch it or if they falter.
And that still allows the opportunity to coach if they, if they're falling short, still allows the opportunity to give the employee an opportunity to be coached.
Right. And of course, we always want to make sure that we're providing the employee with proper strategies, all of the product information, any option that would be available to them, knowing what the chain of command might be. And most importantly, is the person empowered to make things right? If they always have to be taking that next step and going to their supervisor, it kind of might be frustrating for that customer to always have to be waiting for an answer. So what are your company policies about empowering and giving people the authority to act to make things right for the client? All right, let's move on. Go ahead, Rochelle.
Just wanted to say that also allows the employee to continue in way of their growth and development in that customer service space.
Right, exactly.
It's an opportunity to look at challenging situations and then to be able to manage them on their own.
Right. So now, what do we do for rewards? You had mentioned rewarding an employee just momentarily, what the bank might possibly do. But one of the things that we have, and we've already had a webinar on key performance indicators, so if you want to go back and watch that, you can find that on Illinois WorkNet's YouTube channel and on our Start a Business page. But key performance indicators are how you can measure how well somebody is doing, and you can measure them daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, semi-annually, annually. I mean, there's all kinds of ways to go about doing that. But Rochelle, you mentioned earlier maybe giving them an extra long lunch, or what?
Well, a time off has always been a fantastic motivator in way of rewards. Summer hours. We have had situations where we've provided gift cards or an opportunity to receive free clothing wear with a company logo, things along that line. But I tell you, employees like to know, just hearing that they have done a great job. I think that that's a great motivator and a great reward.
It is. And I have a resource down here, and we also have it in our closing pod so that you can actually access it. But this gentleman has written a number of books, and the one I got years and years and years ago was called 1,001 Ways to Reward Employees. He has now written one that's entitled 1,500 Ways to Reward Employees. Not all of them will cost you money. And the one that is most important of all is to look them in the eye and say thank you. If they're doing a really good job, just tell them so. And that will be one of the best things that you can do as a supervisor to make sure that you're retaining those good employees. So how can we help you? What sort of questions do you have that we might be able to answer for you about recruiting and retaining customer service employees? If you want to type any of those into the Q&A pod, please do that now. And while you're typing there, we're going to shift over to our closing pod so that we can get some feedback from you. And as you can see on the web links from today's presentation, we have a pod here, or a link that talks about using social media to recruit employees. We've got we've also got the 1,500 ways to reward employees, and where we received the definition of customer service. And then also links to our Start a Business, the Illinois WorkNet News, and our Illinois Virtual Job Club Network. That's one good place that you might go to share open positions that you have, or look for open positions, or join in conversations. We have over 1,200 members in that group on LinkedIn, so you might be able to bounce some ideas off of people in that group about what you need for customer service or for any other open positions that you might have. We have a question from the audience that says, do you feel a certain amount of college tends to create better customer service reps than those with only high school degrees? What do you think, Rochelle?
That's an interesting question. You know, and back to the point about understanding what's required, I would say it depends on the role, and if education can truly be required for that position. There's so many roles within the state of Illinois where I know employers use college degree required, where the role doesn't necessarily support a college degree. I believe that in customer service, so, you know, we depend on the role. If you're hiring a teller, does a college degree teller perform better than a high school level degree person? I believe that if you're able to identify the qualities in an interview with a candidate, as long as the key drivers are there in way of customer service, I believe in performing that particular role, that it doesn't, I don't think one lends greater than the other. I think it's the candidate who is really demonstrating the best customer service. For that particular example, what you might find is that the person who has obtained a college degree, they are definitely going to be driven and motivated to move on to the next position within the organization, whereas someone with a customer service background, I'm a teller, this is the line of business that where I'm looking to somewhat remain in this retail space, I think that those folks will be just as driven or motivated to provide a great level of customer service.
We also, that's a great answer. Thank you for sharing that, Rochelle. We also have another question that says, that this young woman learned some things that she's going to take back to her manager, but what is the going rate of pay for a customer service rep? And that's definitely going to depend upon where you're working and what you're doing. What I did do was I added a link into our pod, our web links pod, and it takes you to our Illinois WorkNet page that for exploring careers for customer service rep. And on that page, it says that the median average wage for Illinois for a customer service representative is $33,452 per year. And as you're looking at the wages and trends on that page, there is a section where you can click on wages and trends, and it will give you different wages based on what part of the state you live in. So, for example, a median wage in DuPage County for customer service is $17.08, where in the Kankakee, Morris, Pontiac area, a median wage is only $14.29. So it's good if you are hiring somebody to know what the going rate is in your geographic area, and you can find that information on Illinois WorkNet under the career, Explore Career Wages and Trends. So hopefully that answered your question, Erica. Take a look at that information and see if you can find exactly what you need in those in that data. So I don't see, let me take a look here. Let me see if there's any other questions. And the going rate can change year to year, but it normally takes about 5 years before there is a major flux in an actual wage variation. So that would be the biggest difference there. We have a question from the audience. Is there a textbook on customer service that you know about, Rochelle?
I honestly do not from the top of my head, but I will tell you, if you were to go online or visit any bookstore, I can guarantee you would be inundated. But that's a good question, and I'd be happy to just check with our training folks to find out if there's a recommendation, and I can pass that back if there's a way just to get the information back to the person who's asking the question.
I think they probably can go online and take a look, and if they don't have a computer at home, they can always go to an Illinois WorkNet Center in the Career Resource Center and look for that information. And the 5-year rule, there's nothing written in stone, but they do update the labor market information every 5 to 10 years, and that is done through wage data gathered by the Illinois Department of Employment Security. And the Illinois WorkNet centers are located across the state. There is a listing on Illinois WorkNet where you can find local resources, and they will have you find the closest location to you. Now, one of our other participants said that Customer Service Skills for Success by Robert W. Lucas is a good book. So let me do a Google search real quick here and see if I can get that link. And thank you for sharing that with us. I appreciate the input. And we have another question. Labor market information is based on employers submitting wage data, et cetera, to the Illinois Department of Employment Security. An individual cannot be put on that. All right, so let's see if we found this book. Let me just share this comment out, and then that way you guys can find it, because I can't find the link for it very quickly. So that's going out in the comments right now. All right, I don't see any other questions that we need to answer. And so thank you very much for joining us today. We appreciate Rochelle Simpson's time from National Trust. If you do need to watch this, we have recorded it, and we will share this for you down the road. And we do have a link. It looks like www.mhhecustomer. And we'll see if that works for everybody. So there you go. There's that book. And thank you for joining us again, everybody. We'll see you on the next webinar. Have a great